So what's the real secret sauce that makes a corporate strategy actually work? I mean, it's a question that keeps executives up at night, right? Because it's just not about having a brilliant plan on a piece of paper. It's really about this intricate dance between having a clear direction, the right governance to guide it, and maybe most importantly, the discipline to see it all through. So let's just jump right in with the big question. Can you have the most visionary, game-changing strategy ever written down and have that be enough to guarantee a win? Well, what we're going to see is that the answer is a pretty clear no. There are these hidden forces at play that really determine whether a strategy lives or dies.
Okay, first things first. We have got to get this idea out of our heads that strategy is some kind of neat, clean formula you just pull from a textbook. It's not a simple recipe you can follow.
And this slide really shows you that huge gap between the theory and reality. I mean, on the left, you've got the textbook version. It's all rational, it's linear, you analyze, you set your goals, you pick a path. Simple. But the real world, over on the right, it's a tangled mess. Strategy isn't just a plan, it's where purpose and power collide. It's shaped by who has the information and who has control. And that's where things get really interesting.
This brings us to something we've all seen, right? The mission statement. It's usually hanging on a plaque in the lobby. But here's the thing. Are they just fluffy, feel-good posters? Or can they actually be powerful operational tools for strategy?
You know, it's funny, if you look at the mission statements from the world's biggest companies, you start to see a pattern. They all use the same big, noble-sounding words: purpose, innovation, customer first, responsibility. Doesn't matter if it's a tech giant or a Wall Street bank, the language is surprisingly similar.
Which, of course, leads to the million-dollar question. Do these beautiful statements actually change anything? The real danger here is that they become nothing more than hollow PR slogans. And when that happens, they don't just add zero value, they actively create cynicism among the very people who have to read them every day.
So here's what makes a mission statement actually work. It has to do three things. One, it has to impose real constraints. It needs to say what the company won't do. Two, it has to be used to justify the tough trade-offs that inevitably come up. And three, it needs to be a shared compass for everybody, especially for the decisions being made far away from the C-suite.
All right, enough with the theory. Let's make this real. We're going to take a look inside the strategy of a massive, real-world company, the asset manager Fidelity International, and see how all these ideas actually play out.
So let's start with a classic SWOT analysis. Fidelity's strengths are pretty obvious. Huge global brand, tons of expertise. But look over at the weaknesses and threats. Their profit margins are getting squeezed, clients want lower fees, and regulators are watching their every move. So even with big opportunities out there like ESG, they are basically fighting fires on multiple fronts. And this slide really just drives home how tough their world is. The rivalry is insane. Their biggest clients have all the power to push for lower fees, and all these new, cheaper alternatives like passive funds are popping up all over the place. It is a total pressure cooker. So, for Fidelity's leadership, the challenge is really simple to state, but huge to solve. In a market that is more skeptical than ever before, how do you prove you're still worth the money? How do you justify your top-tier position? It's this constant battle for relevance.
Okay, so having a great strategy is one thing, but keeping that strategy on track? Oh, that is a whole different ballgame. And this is where the absolutely critical role of control comes in. It is all about execution.
And big companies like Fidelity, they have a whole toolkit for this. We're talking about financial reports, KPIs, risk management frameworks, compliance, all the dashboards and guardrails that are supposed to help executives steer the ship.
But here is the massive catch. These systems can totally backfire. If your incentives only reward a team for hitting its own narrow targets, you might actually be encouraging them to do things that hurt the rest of the company. It's a classic trap, and it's one that boards have to watch out for constantly.
So what does all of this lead to? Well, it leads to what you could call a universal pattern of governance. It's this ultimate balancing act that pretty much every successful organization has to master. And if you look closely at any effective organization, you'll see this same four-step cycle. First, management comes up with the strategy. Second, that strategy gets turned into actual policies and rules. Third, executives monitor how things are going. And finally, the board steps in to provide oversight and hold everyone accountable. It's a continuous loop that just keeps going.
And this right here is probably the most important point of all. Effective governance isn't just about having these mechanisms. It's not a checklist. It's all about how they are used. It's about having a board that actively engages, that challenges assumptions, and that makes sure the mission, the strategy, and the controls are all singing from the same song sheet.
This brings us to a really powerful quote that just perfectly sums this all up. Direction without discipline is aspiration. In other words, it's just a nice dream with no follow-through. And discipline without direction is bureaucracy. That's just pointless rule following for the sake of it. The real magic happens when you bring both together.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. What about your own organization? How does it balance that direction and discipline? Is it all aspiration with no action? Or is it all bureaucracy with no real purpose? Or maybe, has it found that powerful, effective sweet spot right in the middle? Something to think about.